Okay, this is how I made $788 day trading MNQ today on April 22nd, Wednesday. Coming into the day, we have both indexes telling different stories on the 4 hours we can see here. What we have is we have ES broke structure to the downside on the 4 hour because it closed below this low, correct? And now what we're doing is hovering within this 4 hour for value gap here. So we're respecting bearish order flow on the 4 hour for ES. In Q, what we have is we're still respecting bullish order flow on the 4 hour. We did not close below this low. We're still respecting bullish order flow on the 4 hour. Now on the hourly, let me get to our 9 o'clock candle. Both indexes. Now, this 4 hour fair value gap I'm going to leave here for ES. It's this big blue square. On the hourly, what do we have? Broke structure to the downside on the hourly on ES. We never broke structure back to the upside because we never closed above this high. We put in a new high. We never closed above it. We put in a new high, new highs, never closed above it. This high here becomes our new high. We never closed above it. Coming into really until 11 o'clock. So we have two ways that I believe this could have played out with my initial bias coming into the day. What could have happened, in my opinion, was two options. What we could do is, well, first we have to look at our obvious draws on liquidity. We have previous high of day for MNQ and a London session high that is right at it. I mean, we have a high of 905.5, and we've got 902. So 1.5 points, 2 points off from being equal highs on MNQ. But what we also have is a low of day of 7,085 and a equal low of 7,085 on ES. So this could have gone two ways. Personally, what I would have liked to see was, with how close MNQ is to these two relative equal highs, and I'm going to go ahead and drop down to the 15-minute. But what we have are a bunch of hourly liquidity levels short at session level lows on both indexes as well, and these are going to be marked out orange for today instead of yellow as they normally are. So let me get my 10 o'clock. Get to my 10 o'clock. This is, 15-minute. What we have is previous high of day almost equal with London session. With how close this was at open to this London session high, with my 930 and this previous high day, I would have liked to see if this retraced at open, swept out these equal 15-minute lows, 806, 806. If MNQ could have came down, swept out these lows, which generated buy orders to then give us the opportunity to look for longs up to these equal highs, that would have been great. But also, because these are the closest levels of liquidity, if MNQ was going to come up, take these out right at open, and then allow ES to start rotating down, because we would then have a daily SMT again, right? Because this is all-time high level. ES all-time high level. We never broke above it over here. So we have a daily SMT that still technically could play out in this case. Paired, if ES would have stayed under London session high here, this would have been A+ setup for me. We have all these hourly levels short. We have equal daily lows here that would have been a free target. If MNQ would have came up, or had the possibility to come up, take out these equal highs, while ES stayed underneath London session and be nowhere near this daily level, to me that would have given us a great possibility to start looking for shorts on ES, especially if it would have stayed below or within, respecting this 4-hour fair value gap and respecting 4-hour bearish order flow, would have been a great opportunity there to start looking for shorts. But what do we have? We just have to adjust to price as it's given to us, as we always have to. So what we do is we come over here. Where's my 955 candle? Let me scrunch this out a little bit so we can see it a little better. This is our 955 candle here. This is our 955 candle on ES. What we really have for the first 20 minutes of market is full chop. We have MNQ coming up right at open in the first 5 minutes. In the first 5-minute candle, actually, it sells off, comes and sweeps out these lows. Sweeps out these lows here. What does ES do? I don't think ES does sweep these out, does it? No. So we have a bullish S&T favoring ES. Doesn't really mean anything at the time. Because would have liked to see MNQ have the better target, have favor the S&T because it has the closer targets, and it is more bullish on the higher time frames. So could have gotten burned on this a couple times. After we break this, even though we did not break 5-minute structure to the downside on MNQ, what we did do was we inversed this gap on the 5-minute on MNQ. So then, I mean, technically you could argue we are in bearish order flow because we just respected this gap, but it was the first 5-minute candle, so that's a lot more volatile. So I needed to wait a little bit more into market open to let this develop to see what we were going to get. Now, was there, what candle was this, 955? Was there a argument to take MNQ longs after it swept at these 5-minute lows and began pushing up towards these levels here? Possibly on a 1-minute break of structure, but as we said, we inversed this gap on the 5-minute. Even though we did not break structure, we barely didn't break structure to the downside. But these straws here just looked very obvious to me with how close we were to them. So we could have made an argument on a 1-minute break of structure here to target these highs. I didn't like that with kind of how choppy we were, and due to the fact that we have this fair value gap here and we rejected it so hard. I would have liked to see this orange fair value gap here get inversed. I wanted that extra confirmation before I took this long up. And if I missed it, I missed it. So what we have is ES chopping and Q chopping. And what we end up getting is once we end up respecting this fair value gap and getting a push down, sweeping out these 5-minute lows again, we get another S&T from here to here that ES did not take this out, so we can have another S&T from here to here. Obviously, ES is want to be the more bullish index on the 5-minute, but on the 1-minute and the 4-hour, or on the not 1 minute, but the hourly and the 4-hour. And based on our draws on liquidity, MNQ was the one I was wanting to take this trade on, because what we're doing on the 5-minute is coming down, sweeping out this 5-minute liquidity to generate orders to move us towards our destination on the day. I would have liked to see, wouldn't have minded to see these equal levels get taken out. That's also why I was a little hesitant to come and take this trade right after this push up, because these equal 15-minute lows were so close to this. So once we rejected out of this fair value gap, I not anticipated, but very well could have seen us sweeping out these lows to then rotate up and take out these daily highs here, which then could have given the possibility for ES to rotate down, but it didn't. But that's to get it into the later conversation. So we make another push down, sweep out more 5-minute liquidity, get a push up. And what we end up doing, I was so very close to taking this trade. Let me pull up the, so ES is full bullish. So at this point, all eyes are on MNQ. So you can see on this one, on this candle close here, this 10 o'clock candle, we barely didn't inverse this fair value gap, and we barely didn't inverse this 1 minute fair value gap. I have this. Let me draw this 1 minute fair value gap. Barely did not inverse this 1 minute fair value gap here. This low, look, I mean, look at it. It's pixels away. And then on the next candle, I saw how much this ripped. This next candle ripped, so I was fully prepared to just miss this trade. I thought after this big stick here, we were going to immediately take it out. But we did not actually. We got so relatively close to London session. I mean, we put in a 899.75. That is a 900.5, less than a point away from taking out London session and this previous high day. So at this moment, when I got a little bit of a retrace, I entered a little bit of size here. What I did was I risked the bottom of this 1 minute fair value gap. Not the best risk to reward, but then once we ended up selling down into this inverse 5 minute gap, this inverse 1 minute gap, we got a reaction out of it. I entered a little bit more size, was able to get a little bit better risk to reward. And then with the reaction that we got of this candle here, I did not want to see NQ come back down and give up this green candle here, this upward candle after the reaction that we got out of it. After it ate up this bearish candle, at this point, to me, I moved my stop up to this low because this was a new prominent low for me. Because at this point, if we were going to come down and sweep out this low again, give back this bullish candle, to me, this trade was doomed. So that's the risk that I was willing to take. So once we get a reaction down into here, push up, eat up this bearish candle, I enter in more, and then move my stop up to this low, give us a little bit better risk to reward. I closed out all of this trade at this high a day because of how choppy price was. But at this point, price was charging up to rip. I mean, we're all time. This is after this high here. We're all time highs on NQ, and at this point, this thing could have just ran, and it did just that. And that's completely fine. All time highs. It's very hard to take profits because we have no liquidity levels to our left to base targets off of. So, I mean, at that point, you just kind of use Fibonacci retracement levels, percentage levels of moves, and take profits are a little bit more subjective at that point. So, it would have been kind of hard for me to figure out my next take profits at this point, other than by watching ES and watching ES take out levels of liquidity as well, which also could have been done. But happy with this trade. It was one that I had to be a lot more patient on because if I was to take this trade here once NQ started making a push back up towards these highs on this 1 minute break of structure, for example, which would have been a break of this high, which would have been this candle here, setting lows down here, would have got wrecked, would have got exact stopped out. And then, we waited and ended up waiting and catching the true move of the day. We ended up waiting for the market to show its true hand, getting out of this chop. We got the extra confirmation that we need, waited for this 1 minute gap to get inversed, 5 minute break of structure to the upside, and also on this 10 o'clock close, what we have is ES closing above this blue 4-hour fair value gap that I marked at the beginning, right? So on the 10 o'clock candle, we finally busted up through this fair value gap, and now we're in bullish order flow, which gave us extra confirmation to take the trade on NQ. But that was today's trade recap, and thank you.